welcome back to Straight Facts on Friday. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Loads to talk about on the eve of the return of the Premier League, and I know we're all excited. I know we are all chomping at the bit to sink our teeth into EPL football again. We will be talking the North London derby. We are going to be talking Robert Pires, the Ten Hag and Ronaldo war of words. Loads to go through. Chelsea updates as well. We're joined, of course, by Staffy and Dan Lawless. How are you, gentlemen? Are you both well?
Good, excited, like you said, for football after that pointless short international break where several of us lost players to injury. It's good to have football back, that's for sure. Real football.
Speak for yourself. We have a healthy squad going to St. Mary's.
Oh, right. For a change.
Yes, I'm excited. Yeah, Terry lied to us at the start of the show, said we're excited for our teams to be back. I know he's not excited. You know, I'm excited for football to be back. Yes.
Well,
I'm excited to wake up tomorrow at 6 a.m. to watch Ten Hag Ball. No, I'm not.
Three games into the season. This is where we're at, Staffy, for Man United. Wow.
6 a.m. again, Lawless. That's game number 4. 2 of them I have to wake up at 6 a.m. just to watch that haram football. Of course I'm not happy. Why would I be happy? I'd rather watch West Ham, if I'm being honest with you at this moment.
I make you right. I am a little nervous about Man United's game tomorrow. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Viewers, about 1,400 of you watching so quickly on the stream, which is amazing. But hit the like button now. Get that done for us. Let's try to get... I want YouTube. You've been beaten in the last couple of weeks, I will say. The Twitch audience is beating you for hitting the like button almost by double. So make sure you're getting that smash right now. Let's get to let's try and get to 750 likes minimum, if not 1,000, during the live stream. So let's get that done right about now, my people. Let's get that hit.
Get it to 1,000 or we're going to get done on the show. And you know, if Don is on the show,
we are going to start with Chelsea, actually. We are going to start with Chelsea. A new 9-year deal. So there's an extension that's been done. Nico Jackson to remain at Chelsea for another 9 years, 2033. I will be coming up 50 years old. 50! When that contract finally ends. Is this good business, in your opinion, Lawless, to commit to an additional couple of years for a player that they've already tried to replace?
It's good business for Jackson, like 100%. 100% great for him. But for Chelsea, I don't know if this is part of their, financial situation of trying to, stretch out contracts and stretch out wages over. I just don't see the point of this. Okay, Palmer, I can get it, right? They put Palmer in this crazy lengthy contract. He is top class and is on the verge of world class. Right? He's going to be someone you want to keep at your club. Jackson, whatever Don says, I'm not having Jackson. He is not Chelsea level for where they want to be, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? He's a few steps down, maybe like a mid-table striker or on the verge of getting into Europe. He's not a Champions League striker. And for them to lock him down like that, I don't know, maybe they can get a good fee for him in the future. But yeah, I just don't understand these long contracts. Maybe there's a reason behind it that I haven't seen. But it's weird to me how they're moving. And no one else is really doing it either in the football world.
It's 100% a business reason. There's no other way to put this, and I'll tell you why. They extended it to what, 30 or 33?
33, I think.
33, okay. You're talking about, so he's here for 9 more years. There's no footballing explanation to why anyone is tied up to 9 years at any club, let alone Jackson. So when I see all these contracts being extended at Chelsea, it's because of business reasons. I do not know these business reasons because it's unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like that before. So we're learning this from Chelsea for the first time, where they're putting all these players on long contracts. Obviously, that got, what was it, a year or 2 ago. Now FA said you can no longer do that, or is it UEFA wanted to? I forgot. And they can no longer put them on that long of a contract anymore. So now what they're doing is they're extending all these new contracts a year or 2 later, because this isn't the first time. I believe they did it with Mudryk. I believe they did it with Palmer. And I believe they did it with someone else. I couldn't tell you who. Any Chelsea fan in the comments right now probably knows who I'm talking about. All these things being done in the last 2 years shows you that It's all being done from a business sense. Because the variety of players that I just named, some of them are actually good, some of them are maybe not that good. You know, like you said, Lawless. If it was Palmer, you kind of understand it. If it's someone else, probably you don't understand it. Which is why I'm telling you, this is a business move that only they understand why they're doing it. There's probably something in these contracts from the beginning where they can extend it within a year or two to I don't know how many years. Which is why I have very minimal interest in talking about these things that Chelsea do. Because as I said, they're not things that you're gonna see at my club or your club or anyone else's club. It's only Chelsea. And we can't even look at it as football fans and talk about it in a footballing sense. Because this is not football related. They just probably think, yeah, if we extend them for 3 more years, this is gonna be the value of their contract. If we move them on, this is gonna be the value of them, and we're probably gonna get this amount of profit. They're looking on ROI, the return on investment that they put in these players. It's just a business at this point. Unless Hassan is here to cook Chelsea, that's probably the only time that's funny to talk about Chelsea and the Terrace. Other than that, bro, I will be very honest with you. I couldn't care less about these contracts that Chelsea are putting out because they don't make sense to me, and I have zero interest to know why they're doing it.
I think you make a really good point there. Sorry, Dan, what were you going to say, mate?
No, I was going to say, why do you think no other clubs are trying to do this? That's what I wanted to know, is why ain't, you know,
I don't understand the business model though, Lawless. That's what I'm saying. And by the way, this is me not hating on it, because I know in about 3, 2, 1, the super chats are going to come flying our way saying stop hating on them. It's like Sam said, it's them against the world. It's really not. It could be in a business sense working out for them. I just don't know. I don't know because I haven't seen it, so I can't relate it to something that I could compare to. So I have no idea why they're doing that.
Like SAKA, they're signing like, okay, sign a new deal. It's like 3 years or something like that. Obviously, that's a player Arsenal want to keep. But even I suppose from a player's standpoint, right? If you back yourself, you're going to be in a situation where you say, right, I sign a 3-year deal. I improve and play really well over the next 3 years, and then I either get an upgraded contract from Chelsea, or I move to another club, maybe a big club, and get a big contract there, rather than I'm going to commit for 9 years on this money and have little flexibility. And then the club are in complete control over my future, because you don't get that situation where your contract's running down and you've got negotiation power. So, yeah, it's security, but at the same time, if he does go on to become a great player, he's pigeonholed himself a bit, I think.
I don't think it's footballing at all. It's purely business. I understand it. It's very different to what other clubs have done. I get why they're doing it. I will call this out, though. Every Chelsea fan who's saying, look, guys, I'm not bothered. This is about trying to maintain the best value as possible. There was a comment that actually came in from Hazard_10 that said he won't be there, Terry. I kind of get that. And this, for me, alludes to they're just trying to make sure they maintain the value in him. And him having a 9-year deal puts them at no risk of him being able to run his contract down. However, I want to call out some people that don't think it's that. And I'm going to call some people out from our group chat. Okay. I've hidden their phone numbers so nobody can do this, but I think it's absolutely important. Here's Ches today on this news stating that he's a baller. Honestly, he's cold. Right. And the reason I want to point this out and put it out there is there are some Chelsea fans who, unlike Hazard 10 here, that totally and utterly gets and totally and utterly understands that we need better than him, but this is just about protecting the deal and we're going to sell him and moving on. I think it's fair. But when I see Chelsea fans doing this, do you know what? I'm so glad we've done this. I'm so glad he's not on a 7-year deal and that he's on a 9-year deal, because we have to protect anybody from buying him because he's a baller. He's going to take us to that next level. Don't disrespect your own football club in that way. Jackson is a good football player. He's good, right? I'm not saying he's crap. He's a good football player. He is never going to be prolific enough to get Chelsea back to where they want to be. So I don't think this is bad by Chelsea per se. I think that time is going to tell as to whether or not this, the way they're operating in a business sense, is sensible. But there's been a lot of talk and chatter online from Chelsea fans this week. And something I also saw today, which I thought was really interesting, if you look here at the Chelsea Dodgers, they quote Sammy McBell, who says there's a big distrust with the academy boys at Chelsea because of the first team strategy of just signing players. A well-placed source has said, if Chelsea aren't careful, the departure of this young guy called Rio to Liverpool will be the tip of the iceberg. A Chelsea fan has quote tweeted this and says that Cobham, as we know it, could be done. They got rid of, I don't know who Jim and Neil are, by the way. I assume they're people that were running the academy and undone 20 plus years of good work and relationships in 18 months. And this for me is what's interesting as an outsider. And I would love the Chelsea fans watching live or watching the playback to please don't think I'm not trying to shit on your football club. I'm obviously reacting to what I'm seeing from some of your fans fuming this week about the idea of leaving Stamford Bridge because they don't believe that every avenue has been exhausted. You have your owners fighting each other in public, absolutely fighting each other in public for supremacy over your football club, throwing dirt at each other, throwing each other under the bus to a point where I don't think any Chelsea fan could honestly sit there and say, I'm 100% behind Clearlake, I'm 100% behind Todd Bowley, because nobody quite knows. You have people very close to your academy saying they're breaking up 20 plus years of brilliant work. The academy players don't want to be there anymore because of this new purchasing strategy. You have some people that are for and some people against these long contracts for players as an example. Chelsea Football Club may have slightly improved on the football pitch. We'll get more answers this weekend. But there is, whether they like it or not, and I will use this word, there is a civil war at Chelsea at the moment, not just between the owners, but fans and departments of the football club. And I think Chelsea supporters need to be open and honest. Just sitting there and saying, I'm glad Jackson's got a new 9-year deal. I don't mind if we leave Stamford Bridge because it means we'll get more revenue. You have no clear identity as a football club at the moment. And I'm talking to you from experience as a Man United fan under the Glazers, Liverpool fans that had Hicks and Gillette, West Ham have had bad owners in recent times and nearly went out of business. This is the reason we're talking about some of your problems is we have been there and done it and worn that T-shirt with our own football clubs. And unless you get clarity and some of these issues are addressed, you could find yourselves in deep trouble. Not this season, not next season, but later on down the line, because I've never seen the Chelsea fan. And you know this, the biggest reason you know there's problems, the biggest indicator for me is the amount of Chelsea fans that want to shut these conversations down. This ain't news. Why are we talking about it? This is crazy. I can't believe you even think this is a talk. I had a Chelsea fan DM me the other day. He said, I can't believe our owners fighting is even a talking point on the football terrace. And I sat there and for 2 or 3 minutes, it got into my head. And I was like, maybe he's right. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it. And then I realized, no, he's trying to gaslight me here. He's trying to gaslight me. And he doesn't want it to be discussed because he's concerned about it. But like a lot of times when people have problems in their life, they bury their head in the sand. And I think Chelsea fans have got to push back against this. I don't think everything at the club's wrong. I actually don't even think, listen, these long-term contracts, I've never been someone that's condemned them. I've also never been someone that's praised them heavily. I've always sat back and gone, let's see how this pans out in the medium to long term. You saw that, I know the Fofana deal fell through, but they almost made a £10 million profit on Fofana as an example. I think they're going to make a lot of money on the way they've done some of these deals as well. So I've never been totally against them. However, until you start to improve on the pitch and you start to genuinely get back towards being title contenders and contenders for the Champions League, the plan hasn't worked. And you're 2 and a bit years into this plan. Totally get there's mistakes that have been made and they're being addressed. But until you're back at that level, I'm not quite understanding after 2.5 years, this like unified approach of it's all okay, nothing's wrong, nothing to see here. When your owners are literally throwing bricks at each other in public, maybe I'm wrong. It just strikes me as a little odd and strange.
Yeah, the Cobham thing there, I think long term, I think that's a cause for concern. In the short term, it's not going to affect them at all. But really and truly, like there's no pathway. I don't see right now with the signings they've been making and the way they've been doing things, there's a clear pathway into the first team for the youngsters. So completely understand why they're maybe disillusioned, looking to leave. And, you know, there's going to be a period because we live in this FFP profit and sustainability, and Chelsea have been able to navigate around it. You would imagine they're not going to always be able to navigate around it. And having some players from your academy come in, you know, it means you're not having to go and spend that money, but also their business model for years has been made off of that academy, right? And they've brought a lot of money in from loaning out youngsters, selling youngsters that never made it to their first team. If these talented youngsters are just leaving at this stage before they get their value, then you're not attracting other quality young talent because they don't see that pathway. It's going to have a long-term effect on Chelsea. So I don't think it's good for the long term. In the next few years, it's not really going to matter if they go to Liverpool or whatever. But I think there is cause for concern. I wouldn't be like, I see some Chelsea fans are like, oh, it's the academy. What matter? We've relied on youngsters too much, like in recent years. You've got to think of the long term effects of the academy.
I get that. Mozan here says, so us United fans shutting down Ten Hag conversations means there is a problem. I think typically speaking in life, when an individual, so we're only going by individuals here, try to shut down a conversation, so we keep it to football, I don't even think we should be talking about Ten Hag's job being under pressure. The fact you don't want to talk about it tells me you know his job's under pressure. When I heard, we've had Arsenal fans in the last few days say, why are you even speaking? Because I got called out. Why did you do a show asking if Ten Hag could be sacked? And then the next got a new deal. How could he be sacked? We're asking, could he be or should he be sacked if he doesn't win anything this year? It's a talking point. For you not to want it to be discussed tells me in your heart of hearts you think it's a fair conversation, but you just don't want to hear it. Shutting down conversations is an indicator, is a red flag. The same as if somebody said, all I did earlier on was quote tweet Chelsea's announcement and said 9 years. First thing a Chelsea fan did was go, hope you're happy with Xerxes and Rasmus. I said, well, you're clearly not happy that Nico's staying. Yeah, of course I am. Well, typically speaking in life, people that lash out are not happy people. Typically speaking, I think that's true. When you're a happy person, you don't lash out at people, especially people you don't know and get nasty. If it's a mate and it's a bit of banter, fair enough. But yeah, as I say, shutting down conversations is a red flag that you think there is at least some water being held in that conversation, my friend. I truly, truly believe that. LM here says Jackson's 9-year contract is cheaper than Casemiro's 4-year contract length. Don't matter. What matters is that they're getting paid.
Don't you think that in a way that does matter for Jackson? That so over 9 years he'll make less than Casemiro over 4 years, which means he's got a ceiling that no matter how much better that he does get, unless which they don't have to offer him a new deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, and what we're talking about here is a mistake that our previous crap owners and people running our football club made versus potential mistakes at ownership at Chelsea are making. Man United fans would concur that the length and the size now, on reflection of Casemiro's deal, forget what you first thought when he came in. What we now know with hindsight is it was too much money for too long because his body's letting him down. It was a mistake. But we as Man United fans open up and say it's a mistake. Now, Man United making a bigger mistake on Casemiro under the previous regime doesn't undo any mistakes Chelsea are making. And this is the problem with these conversations. I'm not sitting here on an ivory tower stating, look at Chelsea making potential mistakes. My club would never make a mistake. That is when, LM, your challenge would make sense. But my club having made mistakes in the past, which I'm aware of and admit to, doesn't make Chelsea's situation any better or any worse. So I don't quite get the point you're making. If that makes, I don't know how it rebuttals anything that we've said. The academy situation is a concern, Gav says here, especially with the buying and flipping of players. It'll cost us if we continue with this. Runin here says, Staffy, you are not understanding. Don't mean it's not good. Your opinion on club business is limited, and you have terrible taste in sports teams. Fuck that hat. Go Sox.
First of all, rent free, because this has nothing to do with the Yankees and the Sox. Fuck Boston while we're at it, you pussy. And he said not understanding the business doesn't mean it's not good. Legitimately, in my sentence, when I said this is a business thing, it doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It just means that we don't have an understanding of it because it never happens before. Literally, he just repeated what I said. But he's just, because he sent a super chat, he thinks he's cool now, so he's allowed to talk to me the way he wants. Go back and you'll see that I absolutely said that. I said, just because we don't agree with it, it doesn't mean that it's bad. We just said that we've never seen that happen in football before. But yeah.
Yeah, and
we have a great Friday, Ronnie.
And to double up on that, Runin, sorry, what I would say is
it's because when you said that, just because he sent a super chat, he thinks he's cool. Like that's just like
I'm telling you, bro. These guys, because they sent a super chat, they think they can talk to me in a certain way. Fuck you and your £10. I'll respond to you the way I want then. And fuck Boston again while we're at it.
Do you know what I would say about this, though, is look, we don't need to have full understanding of all the business decisions to have a view that when a club is predominantly celebrating its business decisions over its footballing achievements, there's problems. Man United, we would kick off. Wow, great, we've announced another noodle sponsor that's an extra £8 million a year in income, but it didn't help us on the football pitch. That is the thing that stands out to me in this. It's not that we shouldn't care about how our clubs operate on a business level, because it's important for our futures. You don't want to be losing money. You want to be making money. You want to be growing revenues because it means you can improve your team. But when everything is, yeah, but this is just good business. It's just good business. It's just good business. When is this good business going to start to improve the football team? That's the big question that I think has to be answered here. And a lot of Chelsea fans that are against this, it isn't because they don't understand, okay, it makes good business sense to maintain the quality of a contract. Man United tried doing that and they sold it to us. And I used to believe in it. You know what? We're going to renew Phil Jones's contracts. We maintain his value and we'll sell him later on down the line. Didn't work. So this has been, again, we're not talking about not the length of contracts, but it's been done before where clubs keep renewing contracts, even of players that you don't really want in your first team because they're not good enough on a footballing sense. And it hasn't always worked out in terms of being able to sell them. And by the way, Phil Jones weren't earning ridiculous amounts of money. I think he was only on about £50,000 to £55,000 a week, and we still couldn't get anybody to buy him. So I'm not stating that this won't work in certain cases, but when we start celebrating, and I was guilty of this myself many, many moons ago, of celebrating business decisions when the football isn't improving alongside it, that's a red flag in my opinion. Jackson was never to be replaced. They want to develop him. His talent is rare, and his size, and he has the potential to be elite. Now, Runin, if you believe that Nico, like Ches, that he's a baller, that he's going to go to the very top, that he's going to be a top class star, why are you looking to sign a number 9 ahead of him? It's not. How old is Nico Jackson? Out of genuine interest, he's not
23, 24, isn't it?
Still pretty
that
young.
young. I thought he was early 20s.
Nah, he's 23.
Yeah, he's still pretty.
Hang on.
Yeah, he's pretty.
But he's 23. The point is, at 23 years of age, that's not an 18-year-old. It's not a 19-year-old. At 23, he'll turn 24 at the end of this season in June. But this man's only this guy, I swear, he's at Saka's age. Like, when you're 23, you've got to be about to start to move in. You're getting towards your peak, and you should be the main guy. So my question is, Runin, why are you looking for alternative strikers? Because you have better players than him on the wing. And why are you looking for better strikers than him on the pitch if you believe he's got this rare, raw talent and he's going to be this top star? At some point, that rare, raw talent has got to turn good. If you think you've redone the deal for footballing reasons, that's where I say it's wrong to extend it. Because from a footballing standpoint, he hasn't done enough at Chelsea to get another 2 years on his deal. So which is it, business or football? Please let me know.
No, actually, let me add something to that, Terry. 1 second.
That makes him cool.
Go on, bro.
Well, yeah, let me just add something to this, because Ronan, listen, now you're on my radar, bro. Every time you waffle, I'm gonna call you out because you just tried to make an enemy out of me for no reason. Now, this is the list of players that you have on these death row contracts, as we like to call them. You got Robert Sanchez, still, he's gonna be here until 2030. Badiashile 2030, Malagusta 2030, Lavia 2030, Madueke 2030, Jorgensen 2031, Viega 2031, Caicedo 2031, Pedro Neto 2031, Felix 2031, Mudryk 2031, Enzo Fernandez 2032, and then you got Palmer and Jackson 2033. You're telling me all of these players are just as talented and will be here for the long term because they're all here to be developed. This is a mix and match of some decent players and some players that we look at and we're like, you know what, we probably wouldn't take him in my team. So I'm not saying all of them are bad, but you'd be lying to yourself if you say, oh, these are good. So you're coming here and waffling, saying the only reason he's here is because he's being developed. So he's going to be developed until he's 32 years old, because he's 23 right now, and he still has 9 more years. So what, you're going to finish developing him in 9 more years? And why is the likes of Sanchez still on that list? Is he being developed too? Because I look at him and he's pretty mediocre. And there's some players on this list that I rate, don't get me wrong. But are we going to sit here and pretend that all of them are the same quality, and that's why all of them are about on contracts about 7 to 9 years? Stop waffling, bro. And fuck Boston one more time.
Do you know what I find really interesting as well? I'd love to know whether he's getting a pay rise as well. And then I would love to, again, these are the questions I'd be asking. So I understand giving a player a 7-year deal at 65 grand a week. Because you can say, well, actually, that's the same as giving somebody, I haven't done the maths on it, but we can do the maths very quickly so that we know that we're accurate. Where's my phone? So if we go to his original deal, which according to this website is 65,000 a week, 65,000, excuse me, times 52, 3.38 million a year, times that by 7. So that's a 23 million pound deal. Let's divide it by, say, a 4-year contract, a normal contract. That would be the equivalence of someone being on a 4-year deal at 113,000 pound a week, which is still a relatively low wage. But I want to know, because we've seen Palmer's money jump up to 130,000 a week. What's Jackson's new salary? And then the question I would be asking if I was a Chelsea fan is, well, we're all celebrating having this big, long contract, but much lower premiums. Maybe all of these players have a clause, a year, 18 months, 2 years in, they get an extension, and the extension also triggers a pay rise. That's when you start getting towards the realm of risk, because suddenly, let's just say Jackson's money now has jumped to 90, 100, 120 grand a week. Then you're in a situation where actually it's a lot easier to set a player who's got 6 or 5 years left on his deal on 65 grand a week. You've suddenly got a player that's failing, but got 8 years left on 120 grand a week, harder to move on. Harder to get the good money for them. So this is where, again, Chelsea fans, in my opinion, have to be asking the questions, have to be demanding answers out of their football club and transparency, because you're not following a model that everybody does or everybody understands. So I just think there's an element of balance that's needed in this, above and beyond everything else. This here from Abdi. Abdi says, Terry Jackson, who scored 14 goals in his first season in the Premier League, but you said he hasn't done enough, but praise Kai Havertz in the same light. So it's a really good question. It's a really good challenge there. So what I've said about Jackson, I think you can currently, first 2 games of the season, you may say different. But when I look at Jackson, I am yet to see a player that when it comes to those gilt-edged moments in really close games is going to come up clutch. I hold that same feeling towards Kai Havertz. I think Kai Havertz has proven people wrong, because when he went to Arsenal, everybody said he would flop. Everybody said that he wouldn't keep scoring when he eventually found his feet in the February, and he's continued to do that. I actually think only Cole Palmer and Haaland have more GA than him since he moved into the striker position in February, March time last year. But I still think Arsenal need more up front. So it's no different to what I'm saying about Chelsea. I think Jackson's a good player. I have said he's a good player, but I don't think he's enough. I don't think he's good enough, clinical enough, and overall good enough to get Chelsea back to the level where you want to be. So my energy for both those players is not overly different, in my personal opinion. Now, if Jackson starts scoring those gilt-edged chances, if Kai Havertz starts scoring more and more winners, more and more games being won, and it isn't just those easy chances, it's that half chance in the 85th minute when it's 1-1 and it's from an acute angle. We know the top goal scorers bury them. That's what you need to start seeing. And for me, Jackson does score goals, but you had 3 of those goals, as an example, came in a hat-trick against Spurs when they were down to 9 men and playing that criminal high line. I'm not saying they don't count, but if you're being truthfully honest, I've seen it with Anthony. Anthony scored some important goals for Man United. But like one of them, everyone goes, yeah, he scored a screamer against Man City. What, when we were already 4-0 down or something? That, for me, it's almost like a nothing goal. That guy had no impact. Where was the performance to help stop us being that far down in the first place? And I do sometimes feel that you have to be open-minded. Goals matter, but when were they scored? Who did you score against? And look at the abundance of big chances missed. And if, Abdi, if you think he's good enough, you have to answer me this question. Why did Chelsea try to bring in a better version this summer, if he's good enough? And he ain't kid. He's 23, turning 24, in my humble opinion. I think you need better. Rooney here says, Staffy, no reason. You have Man United and the Stankies. We are mortal enemies. Never said all of them, but you're triggered and irrational now.
Okay, if you think that's irrational, that's fine. But you just said the Stankies, and we have a better record than the Sox right now. So who's actually being irrational? Have a good day, brother. Have a good day.
He also says here, because he's not the finished product yet, but has all the potential to be, team still needs goals in the meantime. But for me, if you sign Osimhen, which you might try and do in January, he's never going to be the main guy. He's never going to be as good as Osimhen. He's never going to be better than Osimhen. So for me, I think he's back up for you personally. I don't think he's ever going to be that star that you think he is, my friend. But listen, I appreciate the opinion. How do you boys think Chelsea will get on this weekend away at Bournemouth? Tough game, but do you think they'll come through it as the victors?
They should, but they're their bogey team. You're on mute, Lawless, but that's their bogey team. So I don't know if you want to look at it that way. It could be a troubling journey for them. On paper, they should smash them. I'm not gonna lie. Even the way that they play. What was the result last game? They drew 1-1 with Palace. They played. Let's be honest. They played pretty good against Palace. It's one of those where I know they didn't win. Yeah, but like 9 times out of 10, they probably would have won that game. You know. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just because it's Bournemouth and they always find trouble when they go there. I don't know. You know, but I'm gonna go by logic, and logic tells me that Chelsea are miles better than Bournemouth, and they should probably beat them at least like 2-3-0, something like that.
I think Bournemouth are underrated. I think Irola's done a decent job. I honestly think they're gonna have a tough time there. They had that great comeback against Everton. They did play poor for a majority of the game, Bournemouth, but they showed they can switch it on and score goals. So I think they're going to cause Chelsea a lot of problems. I honestly think it'll be a draw. Like Chelsea, I think, yeah, they still got quality players and that, but they're still early in this new Enzo project. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a tough one. So I'd say a draw, to be honest.
Kepa reunion?
I think Chelsea will win it 2-1. I think Chelsea if Bournemouth had Solanke still, I might side with Bournemouth, but I think Chelsea will just have more firepower in the end. And I was actually looking in terms of preview. I mean, I know it says that Palmer's doubtful in here, but I think he's going to be back. To be fair, Reece James and Gusto are out, Lavia is out, but Chelsea fans must be feeling so much better this year in terms of injuries, because like this time last year, both Chelsea and Man United, it was like a list of 11, 12, 13 long, and that stayed the same all season. So I know that they'll be gutted to not have either one of their main right backs in the team. I think Gusto and James are both still out, but Palmer's back. They've got too much firepower, in my opinion, and I think they'll beat them. They're just a little bit too much firepower
for goals, though. I was going to say, like, since they did Solanke, like you said earlier, like having that clutch guy to score in the big moments, Solanke was that guy, but they haven't really struggled to score. Like they've scored in every league game, and I think it's Taverner. I think it is. He seems to be their guy.
Yeah, so. They have. Yeah, they drew their first 2, and then obviously that comeback against Everton was crazy. I mean, it was. I mean, it won't ever get the accolades that the big teams get, because in terms of there isn't as many of their fans pushing it, promoting it, saying how amazing it was. But one of the greatest comebacks in the history of the Premier League, when you consider that, I was looking at the time of it. So they were playing against 11 men. And yeah, that was it. With 3 minutes of the game to go, they're 2-0 down.
Yeah.
And they won 3-2. I mean, not only is that one of the greatest comebacks, it's also a game that I think has almost certainly cost Sean Dyche's job. And I think unless he has like a dramatic turnaround, I think he'll go. But I'm on this game with Chelsea. I'm gonna go over a narrow win for Chelsea, but I'm gonna go 2-1. I think they'll nick it 2-1 late on. Someone like a Pedro Neto or a Madueke late on, goal at one of the far posts, and they'll take 3 points back to they'll take 3 points back to Stamford Bridge. That is what they will do. That is what they will do. Viewers, give us your thoughts. Give us your feelings on that. Staffy, I need to ask you a question first. We're going to go into a bit of Man United stuff, but I want to ask you first. Some rumours picking up a little bit of pace that United might move for a cut price deal for Rabiot. Ball carrying, elegant, left-sided midfielder. Would you take that on a short-term deal?
Yeah, of course. I've been calling it during the summer. I said I always want to go for a free deal every summer, if it makes sense. And obviously with Rabiot for a while, it didn't make sense because of what he was demanding. And I think his mom finally got some sense in his head, in her head first before his head. And they're like, listen, you don't have a club right now. You've been basically warned by the national team manager that if you don't get a club, your place is going to be, it's not going to be guaranteed anymore, So now he has to actually lower down his expectations a little bit, and he now has to come down to earth and actually be realistic about how much he's valued out there. Because all these rumors that he wanted to get about 250K a week, you're good, but you're not that good. Let's just be honest. You're a decent player, but let's be realistic about how much you're worth. He is a good player. I think he gives a different element to this United midfield. He's also one of those, unfortunately, when I look at him and I don't think he fixes our midfield, but he's a decent piece to have in this midfield. First of all, we don't have left-footed players at all in this midfield. As far as I remember, I don't think we have a single left-footed one. So he'd give us something different. We actually have a left-footed left center mid. He does work in a few combinations with some of the players that we have. I do see him not necessarily starting week in, week out, but he will have a good part to play in this midfield. He's physical. People don't give him respect for that. I don't think people look at Rabiot. I think because he's blonde with long hair and French, they just assume he's just like an aesthetics merchant. He actually gets stuck in. He's tall, and as I said, he's left-footed, so he gives us balance. So footballing wise, there's a lot of things that he adds to this midfield. It was always going to come down to how much money he takes. And if we're able to get him at a cut price and he finally agrees and his agent, his mom agrees, then I don't see how this deal was a bad thing. He is a very good player to add on a free, because when you look at some certain clubs out there in Europe, there's always been, like Juventus, for example, they always sign free agents for good fees and then move them on in a couple years, or they play an integral part for the next 2-3 years, and people get complimented for that. United haven't done a lot of that recently. Like the last free signing I could think of was Eriksen, and fair enough, he did well with Brentford when we signed him, but I can't remember any like good deals where like you look at it, you're like, you know what, the risk is very low versus how much he can bring to this team. And I'll be absolutely happy to have Rabiot. He's a very good player, and I think he plays a very good part in this midfield. I'd be 100% with it.
I agree with everything you've said. I don't look at it as, wow, it's that kind of Frankie de Jong, Rodri, Iniesta, like top class signing where you go, wow, our midfield is going to transform. But he is just more, I think he's more physical, more durable, and a better ball carrier than someone like Christian Eriksen. With that, I think it's objectively true that he's better at that. He isn't the best defensively, but I think with Ugarte, Casemiro, and Mainu, who's good defensively in terms of breaking up play, you don't kind of need Rabiot to be good at that. I think if we can get him for £200,000 or less for a year or two, I would be all for that. 150 would be better than 200K because it's because, again, you don't want to spend too much money. But I think we need one more player in the midfield this year, because I worry about overplaying Mainu too much. I know he's very talented. I like the idea of Collier coming in. But the problem is with youngsters, no matter how talented Collier looks, we could get 10 games into the season or 10 appearances in for the season for him individually, and you could go, yeah. I remember a lot of us thought that Chong was going to be a really good player. Watching him in the academy, came into the first team, got lots of opportunities, and never really demonstrated that. So I think for me, as long as we can get it on a sensible amount of money, I feel like it's a no-brainer to me. He doesn't fix us, but he improves our options massively, I think. And he has it's the ball carrying. His ability as a ball carrier is so much better than what we've got. Doesn't mean we don't never need any better than him, but he's played over 460 games in his club career, 40 to 50 caps for France. He's won multiple trophies. He has great experience at the right price. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion. I don't know how you see it, Lawless.
I don't think any of his issues were always football-related, by the way. Obviously, I'm going to give Lawless the mic in a second, but I don't think any of his issues has ever been football-related. It was more of like attitude, because he was a part of that. I wouldn't say that back crop of French players in the national team, but the ones that were always looked at like they had a little bit of stinky attitude, it's them. And it shows in the wage demands that he had. But footballing-wise, as I said, he's not the best thing, but he's a very good player to have. I don't think most of us at a reasonable price shouldn't have an issue having someone like Rabiot in their team. As I said, he gives us a different element that we don't have right now. So I'd be 100% with it. I don't know what Lawless thinks.
Yes, it's almost a no-brainer. It's almost a no-brainer, like you said. When it is on a free transfer, obviously, it depends what the signing-on fee is going to be, because there is going to be a signing-on fee. And as long as it don't break the wage structure, you're just adding another option. And yeah, you've got youth. I always say You want to give youth a chance. You don't want to rely on youth. You don't want to be in a situation where it's like,
Yeah.
damn, we need to hope this young player bangs. But the attitude thing is going to be the question mark, because Man United have really struggled with toxicity in the dressing room in recent years. So it's going to be just how confident you are that he's not going to inflame that toxic element that you've got in the dressing room, because you're trying to clear that up and move in a more positive direction. But footballing wise, yeah, like a 2-year deal. He's not that old. He's like what, just about to turn 30 or something.
Yeah, I think he's
29 years. Yeah,
29. So decent age to get him on for a few years, like a couple of years, and see how it goes. And yeah, football wise, I think we saw against Liverpool, like you need more in that midfield, definitely. So yeah, like I said, almost a no-brainer. As long as you're not breaking the bank on the signing on fee and paying him ridiculous money, then yeah, like 150, 200 a week. What are your what's your average wage at the moment? Like, what have you managed to get it to? That's what I'd be interested to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to sometimes, because we've got a new group of people running our club. I kind of I kind of ring fence certain people. So you got your Casemiro's on 350 as an example, your Rashford's on 300, Mount on 250. But if we look at the new players that have come into the football club, this is what's really interesting is you've got Ugarte on 120, De Ligt 160, Matarari 120, Yoro 115, Xerxes 100. So the new players have come in at a much lower rate than we're used to signing players. Yeah. I mean, a lot of our if you go back to the players that were signed, going back to signed the summer before, in fairness, Rasmus was on quite low money still at 85,000, but Onana 120, Mason Mount came in on 250,000 as an example. You start looking at a lot of our signings made prior. Christian Eriksen came in on £150,000 a week. Anthony, £200,000 a week. So when I look at the signings and the wages that were paid out by the old regime versus the new regime, you can see a fundamental difference. And it's important to focus upon that, because that's why I have more faith in this deal if we get it done, not only on the salary, but also around the players' attitude. Because I don't think the new people running our club are going to do what the Woodwards and co have done before, where they turn around and say sort of, oh, do you know what? I know it might cause us problems, but it will cause a buzz around the fact that the fan base, there'll be some shirt sales. We can market this well. I think it will be about, I get the feeling now, does he improve the football team? And and everybody would have negatives about them. Every single human being does, pros and cons. Do those cons outweigh the pros? That's what you've always got to look at in these decisions. And I trust the people now making those decisions to make the right choice. So we had some good business this summer. Very, very good levels of salary that were paid out to individuals as an example. And, it makes a lot of sense to do what it is they've done. So yeah, I trust they're going to make the right decision. But I've always liked Rabiot as a player. And I know he's had some issues off the field with managers and things, but I've always liked him, and I still, to this day, I would look at the comments from a video I made earlier on today. No one can detail on footballing reasons why he's a bad signing. Attitude comes up, and then you get a lot of, but I just don't like him. But that's not an argument. I just don't like something. Doesn't cut it. Like, give me a reason. Sticking with Man United, though, have you seen the war of words between Ronaldo and the manager, Staffy? What's your thoughts and take on that?
Which comments exactly? The one Ronaldo had or the ones Ten Hag had?
Both. Like, what Ronaldo talking about? Like, the manager's got to listen to Ruud van Nistelrooy. The club needs to change. The club's obviously it's a disgrace that the manager's saying that we're not competing for titles. And then Ten Hag has essentially come out and said, listen, bro, you're playing football in Saudi. Shut up. That's basically what he said, right? If you actually paraphrase it down, right? Do you think it's right that Ten Hag's even responded to this?
I don't know what was the context. Was it issued to him at the press conference or not? But he does have a point.
At the press conference, he was kind of asked about Ronaldo's comments, essentially.
I'll just be honest with you. He said, you're far away from the club. You're basically all the way in Saudi Arabia, so stick to that. And I actually don't mind saying that, because I'll tell you what, I tweeted yesterday because he was like, oh, I still love Man United. Bro, listen, we all saw that interview with Piers Morgan. I don't like people feeding me bullshit. This is why people say actions speak louder than words. Okay, your actions showed me that you loved yourself at that time more than your club, and you came out and you spoke ill about the manager, about some of your teammates in the club. So I'm not buying your bullshit about 3 years later. I understand this is YouTube, good for him, but I'm not buying anything that what he said. He needs to mind his business. I don't even like Ten Hag, but this is one of the few times I actually stuck with Ten Hag. He was not wrong on that one. Ten Hag, Ronaldo was absolutely at fault when it came to that one. And 3 years later, listen, I understand he sits there with Rio Ferdinand, who's absolutely a yes man, just agrees with everything he did. I lost so much respect to Rio from the way I see him just do. The way he does these shows with Ronaldo, bro. I've never seen a bigger happy clapper. Everything Ronaldo says, he just sucks it off. It's insane, But I agree with Ten Hag. This one, just stay away, bro. It's none of your business.
A happy clapper. What does that mean?
It's just like you agree with everything, like, oh, yeah, I'm better than Pele. Yes, Ronaldo. Yes, you'll score 1,000 goals. Like, come on, bro. Give it up, bro. It's none of your business. You moved on for a reason, didn't you? Lawless, you're on mute again. You're still on mute, Lawless.
We can't hear you.
I'm mute. Yeah. No, he should. No, he's. I think I agree with you. I think Rio is one of the most disingenuous people in the football space. He kind of comes across, and he don't even make good content, just nodding along. You want to challenge him, and I think with Ronaldo, I get it. Like the Man United that he was a part of back in the day under Fergie was elite. They had standards. Like that's the Man United that he believes in, and he believes that Man United should be that way now. But if Ten Hag come out and said, yeah, we're competing for the league, we're going to try and win, the Europa League or whatever. I mean, you might say that we're going to try and win the league this season and all of that. People would laugh at him. So there's got to be an element of managing expectations as a manager, surely, than just coming out like any manager could come out, like Daesh could come out and go, yeah, we're going to try and win the league this year and we're going to go for it. You know what I mean? And people would just banter him. They just laugh in his face. No one believes the Man United.
I haven't quite understood the negative reaction to Man United players and the manager saying that we're not fighting for the title this year. I kind of get when people have said I'd rather them not say anything. That yeah. I can understand. But we all know we're not fighting for the league title this year. It's almost, I don't understand why hearing it upsets anybody. And I actually agree with what Ronaldo has said, as in maybe not that you've got to listen to Rude. I think there's a little dig in there. I think Ronaldo's a smart guy, right? And you saw Pep yesterday or today say, I don't have Twitter. Yes, you do, because we've seen you say things that trend on Twitter. Do you know what I'm saying, right? So we know you have. I reckon a lot of these footballers have burner accounts. I guarantee. Even someone as big as Ronaldo, I bet he's got a burner account. And he's replied to people before, and they don't know it's him. But I feel like he's mentioned Rude because he hears the rumors or the theories, the fan theory that Rude's only here to replace him as manager anyway. But we know it's not great that Man United are in a position where we can't win the league. But anyone that thinks that's just because Ten Hag's our manager or just because Bruno Fernandes is our captain, again, you are being a huge, an absolutely gargantuan reductionist. We're not in this situation because of any one said manager or any one said player. It's been 17 years of mismanagement, but nearly 20 years of mismanagement, accumulated in the last 11 years where it has got even worse since Sir Alex Ferguson left. That's why we're here. Even if Ten Hag was sacked today and Pep became our manager and we got rid of Bruno and KDB came in and we got rid of Anthony and Salah came in and we get rid of Casemiro and Rodri comes in and we get rid of Onana and Alisson Becker comes in, we are still not competing for the league title this year. It's still going to take 2 or 3 years to create a squad and a team and a culture and a mentality that is good enough to be consistent over a 38-game period, as Barada stated, because Barada has said what is absolutely right for Man United. We don't just want to spend money, win a league title, and then disappear again. We want to compete every single year, and it takes a while to build up to that level. Ironically, everyone go, oh, look how good City are. We've got to act like City. But in the beginning, when City were building towards this, they weren't competing for the league title every year. Or they weren't. Well, yeah, that's true. It's true. I mean, I'm not even messing around. There were some years they won it, and there was other years where they were in the top 4 race because they were building the infrastructure. They were building the ability to get to that level. And that, for me, is the element where I think Man United fans have got to learn to be a little bit less reactionary. Oh, I hate hearing that. Well, it's the truth. And I think maybe we need a bit more of the truth. So I'm not against what Ronaldo said. I kind of get the response from Ten Hag, but I think Ten Hag has not got... Don't show your ass, mate. Don't show that you're bothered. Just say, I hope Ronaldo's well. He's killing it. Scored over the international break. Well done to him. I know. You know, almost... What's the expression? And that's a very East End expression, this. That, you know, fake it until you make it. Just, yeah, it's fine. I know what we're doing. We know what we're building here. We know where we are. We know where we've got to get to. We understand the criticism, but we're working hard. And I'm confident, as a group, we can get Man United back to the top. That's how you answer it. That is how you don't go, basically, I retired you. Get back to Saudi, bruv, because that makes you look like you're under that pressure. And I just think, again, I don't know, man. I know English ain't his first language. That's hard, to be honest. I would be intrigued to hear him answer it in they speak Dutch, right? Dutch. But I don't know. I just looked at it and thought to myself, just don't respond like that, Ten Hag. But that's just me personally. How do you think we'll get on tomorrow, Staffy? Do you think we'll win, or are you a bit worried about the away game? 12:30, first game, 6 a.m. You got to get up for that one. How are we going to get on?
Well, the fact that I have to think about this answer is pissing me off. But as I said, but listen, as I said, I'm Ten Hag in until the season ends. He's managed 3 games. Lawless, why are you shocked? Do you not watch the Terrace? Lawless just exposed. He doesn't watch the Terrace.
No, but like, until the season ends, that means like regardless, like you could go on. Yeah, regardless.
It doesn't matter what happens. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm Ten Hag in for 35 more games is what I'm demanding from this club.
I'm holding you to that. I'm holding you to
that.
No
problem at all. No problem at all. 35 more games. People who are saying if he doesn't get the performances to improve in the next couple weeks, I'm not hearing that. You signed up for this. We're seeing it out the whole season. I'm not jumping ships. I will make sure I'm holding everyone accountable to what they said in the summer, and we're all gonna ride this out. What are you about to say there?
Do you put me in that category? Because I weren't happy about him staying. I need to understand where you see me in this, just so I know for our shows.
No, I wouldn't say you. I didn't say you.
I'm just checking. I'm just checking
no.
If there's an FME coming. Do you know what I mean? So
there's a big majority of this fan base that want to jump ships, and they're now, after 3 games, after we had all summer to speak about it, now after 3 games, they're starting to get cold feet. You will not get cold feet right now. Okay, it's too late. We've driven too far. We're almost there at our destination. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask me to go back home now because you forgot something. I don't care. I'm too far away from home right now to drive back to you for you. So we're going to go the whole way. We're going to go the whole 35 games. And you will endure the pain, and I will be there with you. I'll be holding these people's hands, and I'm saying it's okay. 34 more games, 33 more games, 32 more games. I will not accept anyone that was Ten Hag in the summer that wants to go Ten Hag out now during the season. You signed up for this. You knew what you were expecting. And if you didn't see what you thought you was going to see in the summer, that's on you. But people who, like me, who sat there all summer and last season saying this manager's not good enough, we need to move on, they labeled us as the bad people. I get this every Friday. Just look at the comments. Every Friday, I get told that I'm a plastic fan. I'm worse than the rivals. Who needs rivals when you have Staffy talking about his team? Okay, we're going to go the whole way. And if we don't get a performance versus Southampton, I think we'll win. Because I don't see a way where we don't beat Southampton. But if we don't see a performance, if we see a dodgy 1-0, I don't want no one complaining. Everyone who signed up for this, you have to endure the pain for 38 games. And I will ensure this. And I will email the club again. And I will tell them again that I'm backing this man. Lawless, I'm not even joking. I told you, I emailed the club. I said, I back this manager. And they responded to me.
Man is moving. Get it on the screen. Prove it.
You're the reason he's still here, Staffy. Staffy is the reason.
All right, one second.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Prove it, Staffy. I don't believe you. I don't believe you right now.
But being Ten Hag in Staffy doesn't just mean not calling for him to be sacked. Yeah, like you can say you're Ten Hag in, but if you're here calling him a board fraud, saying he's not good enough for Man United, that's not being Ten Hag in. If you're telling me he's not good enough, that's not the same thing. Like you have to back him. You have to say, listen, ladies.
I'm not gonna show the email because I don't want to show my real name, but you see the club.
How would you rate the support you received? Okay. How would you rate it out of 10?
I know your real name. It's on the invoices, bro. I've seen your real name.
You do. They don't. You know, they said, we appreciate you taking the time to get in touch with your comments. It's very difficult to pass messages like this onto the coaching team, but we will try our best. In closing, we thank you for your continued support. You think I'm joking, Lawless? I am not joking. We will see 35 more games of this manager. I will not accept people jumping ships because when we got criticized all summer for saying we need better, we have a better squad than what this manager is showing us, people didn't want to hear it. They wanted to single out certain players. They wanted to single out everyone but this manager. It is too late. I'm sorry for the people that don't accept this manager. I hear it because I was with you guys in the summer, but I've noticed that I'm fighting a losing battle. These guys were writing letters. They were writing letters, Dan Lawless, saying we want to keep this manager. They instilled a losing mentality in this club. And I'm tired of fighting this. So I will not be singled out anymore. I will not be looked at as the bad apple anymore. I will not be looked at as a bad fan anymore. I'm tired of waking up at 6 a.m. to watch garbage football just to have idiots who sit in the comments and say, this guy's shit, he's not a real fan. I'm tired of that. So I will be waking up. I'll put a fixed smile on my face every day, and I'm going to grab a coffee, and I'm going to grab a bagel, and I'm going to watch my team, and we're going to play shit football, and I'm going to back it. And no one is allowed to jump ships until the season ends.
I get your pettiness. I see it this week. I saw the same thing this week with Arsenal fans. I can kind of get the north sides of this world being frustrated because they're predicted we get a few injuries and then the team's in trouble. But they don't back the team and the manager anyway. So I think they're absolutely right to be frustrated. The Arsenal fans who have freaked me out this week are the ones who, we've got a great squad, we're going to win the league. They get a couple of injuries, they want the season postponed. What's going on? The Man United fans who are like, it's the best decision in the world to keep this manager. You can't 3 games in be like, this is the worst mistake ever. People like myself, well, I think it's the wrong decision. I'm going to objectively support it, but I don't think it will work. Fair enough. I think it's okay for me to say, this is why I thought we should have got rid of him. But the ones that were, this is 100% the right decision, you can't be changing your mind 3 games in that easy without holding some smoke online.
You wrote a letter, come out right now and raise your hand. You wrote a letter, right? So you have to back it for
and Travanelli, by the way, and Travanelli, by the way, that was sarcasm and a joke. So I don't actually mean they want it postponed, but it's a joke there. In terms of the game, what are you going with, Lawless? Man United, Southampton, what are you saying, bruv?
Yeah, listen, I can't look but past the Man United win. Someone actually tried to say West Ham have been the worst team so far this season in the chat. Like, no, well, that's just crazy. Southampton, what's that? What's this? What's this?
I mean, you're in the mix, bruv. You're in the mix. You know what I'm saying? You've got a nomination.
Where are we? We're above you. We're above you.
Yeah, but we're not.
See what that means to me? I'm sitting on a panel with a West Ham fan telling me I'm ahead of you. People don't get where this is coming from. We are we're sticking to Ten Hag for a whole season, so Lawless can come here every week and just shit on us and remind us that he's ahead of us by -2 or whatever it is goal difference. Go ahead, Lawless. Continue to mud my club.
Yes, right. Trust the process, Staffy. Remember, you're Ten Hag in. You got to trust the process. But yeah, look, Southampton and Everton are the worst teams in the league. There is no reason why. Obviously, Man United, we see what we know what you're capable of. You know, you can screw it up. But I think this is going to be a routine win, man. Especially coming after the back of that Liverpool defeat. I think this is a response. This has to be a response. So I'm looking at it and going 3. I think it's going to be 3-1 Man United. Yeah. Honestly, I think
3. We're gonna score 3 in one game. Nah, no way, Lawless. Nah. I'm actually going to bed happy tonight. Lawless promised me 3 goals. I can't remember the last time I seen 3 goals. If you told me right now I'm gonna wake up at 6 a.m. to watch 3 goals, I'm buying that. I have no problem.
I'm telling you now. Listen, if Man United scoring 3 goals, bruv. That's like a Shannon Sharp smash, bruv. Do you know what I'm saying? That's like that would be I don't know what would shock me more. That Instagram live. By the way, did he lose his job?
No, they said they're not going to do anything about
it. Good.
They're not.
I'm glad. Listen, I don't know. I've seen clips of him. I don't watch his content because obviously I don't follow the sports. But I was reading that he got sacked, and I was like, "What's he done wrong?" I mean, I couldn't believe it.
His podcasts are good, which aren't sport related.
He has a couple podcasts.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Do you know what it is? He's got a fan now. I'm gonna listen to his stuff. Like I'm mainly because
wait, what stuff? What stuff, Terry? Let's
not his OnlyFans. Not his OnlyFans. Like, do you know what I mean? His podcast.
But you know what the funniest was there? Someone was like, "Oh, I'm very disappointed in you. You let me down," and I'm like, "You're disappointed in a man because he had sex." Like this gay, and then there's this comment.
No. It's not that. It isn't that. It's because that's an incel, bruv. That's what they're disappointed in. I think there are some people online that can't get it, won't get it, or don't look for it. And I think in their warped minds, they're like, I'm going to imagine that nobody else does either. Like that's why I think some people give me stick purely because I'm a dad, and they're like, well, that means Terry had sex and I haven't. Like I think there's an element of that, right? But I couldn't believe the outrage I was seeing. I was like, he's made a mistake, right? But it's like we have all gone live when we didn't mean to. I thought I was recording. I thought I was recording the video, but I went into the wrong thing on StreamYard and pressed like stream instead of record. And then I realized it 3 minutes in, went, oh crap, and took it off. But we've all made those kind of mistakes. And he just had consensual intercourse with a woman.
And oh my God, he's finished. He's finished. Like, why? Like, it's just,
bro, do you know what it is? It's kind of, it's one of those things for me where I didn't get why it was finished. It is what it is. Do you know what I mean? He got, the thing is, some of you, I've lived in apartment buildings where like you can hear your neighbors through the walls, right? If you go on holiday, you hear people through the walls. It's not nice, as in I don't sit there listening to it. Like you put some music on, you turn the TV up, but maybe it's just kids and virgins probably. Do you know what I mean? That view it in a weird way, or porn addicts. I don't know. I'm glad he isn't losing his job. I'd have complained. I'd have complained on his behalf because it was just nothing. I thought it was hilarious. Like it wasn't like you could see anything either. Do you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. It is. I mean, not like you remember during lockdown, those people that they didn't know they had their cameras on they were like in stream. They were in like a conference call having sex and stuff. Like even that is still a mistake. It's still a mistake. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you're not meant to be in that conference call. Maybe you forgot to log out of the room and you thought it was all turned off, and then suddenly you're having a little bit of horizontal hula. Anyway, we're moving on. Because the incels are going to get very unhappy with us talking about something they're never going to get. My guy Staffy, we are back 2-1 Man United jammy finish.
Phineas, never call me your guy again because you're not my guy. You're actually a fake. You're a fake supporter, Phineas. So
do you like anyone in these super chats?
No, Phineas is actually one of my guys from my chat. He's a Chelsea fan. I know he's doing this in a sarcastic way. You know, that's what I'm saying. He's not my guy.
I get you now. I'll just Staffy there.
Like I actually know him. There was a little bit of banter there.
Ray here says, I'm judging at the end of May because if Man wins another trophy, I'm going to see what all of you say then.
There we go. Let's hopefully we win another Carabao Cup because it will make it all worth it. Carabao Cup in 8th place. I will back that.
Yeah. If we come 8th like last year, keep playing this football, win a trophy, I will still call for the manager to be sacked. I still will. 100%.
A trophy every season. Like, I know you're Manchester United, all of that, but
bro, even Ineos came out and said that, Lawless. What are you about to do? They said that they need to see a progression in the performance. So these people who call us out, now Ineos is saying that. Yalla, go call Ineos out too. Say Ineos is fake. They don't love Man United.
This is what everyone kept saying to me as a West Ham fan for wanting Moyes out. What would you rather? Would you want to win? Or do you want to play attractive football? That's
I think it's
they're not exclusive.
Like, I know that.
No, I agree. It's about both. It's about having both. Winning another trophy, I'd say well done. Therefore, I wouldn't say that Ten Hag's time at United is a complete failure because he's won trophies. But
making the most successful since Fergie, right?
It would in terms of the amount of trophies won. But I don't think any of the managers since Fergie have been successful because none of them have mounted one title charge, and your league form is the ultimate barometer for where you are. But we have seen teams get relegated and win trophies. We have seen teams struggle in their league and find themselves in the Champions League final and win it. And all those achievements deserve congratulations, and they get it. But the ultimate barometer, the teams that we look at every year and go, they've got a chance to win in the league and they've got a chance to win in the Champions League, are the teams that we all know are in the title races in their own country. So until you're in a title race every year, you're not even looked at as one of the favourites. And I think you've got to get back to that level, especially when you spend what Man United do on salaries and transfers. I just think you have to. Boomer Guna here says, funny how United gets that leeway, but Arsenal need to sack our manager now. I quite know what you're talking about.
Because I'm a top red, bro. I will not go against
I wouldn't mind the signing of Rabiot. I think all the help we can get is important in this area. Listen, I agree. Ten Hag with a player with an attitude is going to be fun. Yeah, we need to see what happens there. Scored 3 goals more. Scoring
3 goals is more of a chance that I find
Bigfoot.
Someone told me in the comments earlier we scored it against what was that team in the FA Cup semifinal? Coventry.
Yeah.
You're right.
We scored 3 goals against the league.
Yeah, apologies, I forgot that we scored 3.
Are they League One or Championship? Are they League One or Championship? I don't know. Championship.
I'm sure they've been.
But yeah, I lie to my kids about Bigfoot. When we go out walking in the woods, so my kids don't walk off, I tell them Bigfoot's there, and they believe in it, which is great. So
that's a lie because he lives in America. Bigfoot, right? I don't know unless he got past.
Jackson, Freya, if you're watching. Archie, if you're watching, Bigfoot is real, just like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. Okay,
but he lives in America. That's the thing. You don't. I don't
know. No. We've got a Bigfoot that lives in Surrey, bro.
English version.
Yeah.
Surrey Bigfoot.
We call it. It's called the Yeti. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I tell my kids loads of things. Like my kids think a snail lives in my car. It's called Sydney the snail. This way, I get them to be quiet in the car when we're driving because they're looking. Be quiet so that because Sydney won't come out of one of her hiding places if you're noisy in the back of the car. So they stay quiet for ages looking for her. Do
you know what?
You got to tell white lies to kids. You got to tell white lies to kids.
Yeah.
I tell you.
I just hope that when they're like in their 20s and that, and they're with their mates, and oh yeah, let's go in the woods. He's like, nah, Bigfoot's there, mate. Bigfoot, we can't go in there.
It does. Kids do not get long-term scars from telling them that. Because the reason I'm telling them Bigfoot is there, it isn't because Bigfoot is there. It's because them walking off alone in the woods is fucking dangerous. So they need to be scared of something. Because if you tell a kid, oh, it's dangerous, why? Something bad might happen, and you're not specific, kids go, oh, I'm going to go investigate. You have to actually scare them. You have to actually scare them. It's so funny. You do.
My school done a kidnap on us. They actually got us kidnapped as a thing to scare us.
We did that. We did this thing, right? We were on this school trip and we didn't know what it was. It just like a normal school trip. And they did this thing where they were like, come and get your photo done. And me and my best friend at the time, Ashley White, big up yourself, Ashley, if you're watching. We were the first to go round and there's a camera set up. And we were like, it was a bit weird. And then they said, come around this bit here. And then they said to us, we need you to play along with us a little bit and just scream like we're kidnapping you. And we were so confused. And then they proper grabbed us and dragged us out the door, right? But it didn't go very well for them because my mate Ashley punched the geezer and we both run away and come straight back in. Then it turned out the whole thing was a setup. They were trying to do this thing about teaching us to not talk to strangers. But Ashley, that was so funny, that was. I remember him hitting the guy. It was so funny. It was so fun. We didn't know yet. That's good. You got to scare your kids. You got to scare them. Yeah. Like the things like if they stop folding their eyes inside out. If the wind changes direction, your face will stay that way. You've got to scare them a little bit. You got to. Do you know what I mean? I've never been so scared. Why? What happened to you? Do you know what? I went out once, right? I was in the States years ago, maybe a decade ago now. I was at a friend's house.
Oh, he's saying he saw it. He saw Bigfoot.
No, you didn't see. Bigfoot. What do you mean you saw Bigfoot, Ray? What do you mean you saw? You mean you saw a bear? You saw a bear. You saw a bear. You didn't see Bigfoot because bears do walk on their back legs. But I went out, and what do you mean you saw Bigfoot? I was out walking in the States, and we went to go for a little walk. And I said, they gave my friend Matt Mullins is his name. He gave me these walking boots and a bit of stuff to wear. And then I saw him and his brother. They were like loading up their guns. And I was like, we're not going hunting, are we? They went, no, but we have to take them. It's like, why? Because of this animal and that animal and this animal. And I was like, yeah, when you go for a walk in the woods or out in the wilderness in England, you ain't got to worry about anything hurting you other than you falling over, right? And I was like, yeah,
where were you?
World. We were sort of near the border of Canada. I
Oh,
I'll tell you where we were. I'll tell you where I was.
What is it? Is it? It's not...
I don't remember the name of the town. One sec. It was years, about 10 years ago. Let me see now. We were in. What is that state there called? It's right at the top. I'm now just looking. Top left, yeah.
Top left.
Top left state. Yeah, Staffy, you should know this like off by heart.
Bro, I live in the East, bro. Relax. But he was probably in what's it called? In Washington State.
Yes, it was in Washington. Yeah. No, it was in Washington State. But I'm trying to remember the name of the town.
Oh, I don't know. You were probably near Vancouver is all the way up there. So maybe you were going into Vancouver. I don't know. But if you're talking about Vancouver, maybe
because we were in a really small town. I think it was. I'm looking on the map now because I don't remember what it was called. We were staying in Birch Bay, which is right by the border, but we went out walking in some woodland. I can't remember what it was called, but yes, it was in Washington State, and it was literally sort of because we'd been to Vancouver and Edmonton, like training camps. Yeah, it weren't far from Vancouver as well. It weren't far from Vancouver. Yeah, Vancouver was just north. If I'm just looking up, this was 10 years ago. I'm just looking out because I don't want to get the names wrong and look stupid. But yeah, we went out to a number of places. There's loads of bears there, and I was like, shit.
Could have been Bigfoot. Ray is determined. He's like, it was real. Like he said, bears don't walk up. So listen, I believe him.
Do you know what it was? I want to say Washington State, but then you know what went through my head because my geography's so bad. I was like, I don't want to say that, and then it turns out to be on the east because I know where Washington DC is, but Washington DC, I got myself confused because I'm not the best with geography. So, what state is Washington in? The Washington DC.
It's not a state. It's a district. So it's
okay. So it's not. Thing. So it's not in a state though.
No. So it's DC means District of Columbia. So it's like between Virginia and like a couple other states. Like it's not. It doesn't belong to any state. Washington DC.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. It's like DC, right? I get that. That makes sense.
District of Columbia. That's what it means.
Robert Pires said that Doku's better than Saka. What you saying? Slam Saka for not being consistent. What we saying? Arsenal fans are not happy about this.
I mean, when are they happy? But I understand. I get it. Like, yeah, it's a bit outrageous. Like for him to say Doku. First season at Man City, I didn't rate him at all. I think he's looked much improved, but still, to say that he's better than Saka is a madness. Saka, I think, is consistent. He has off games, sure. He's not elite level consistency of you're going to get, say, a 9 or 10 out of 10 every week, but you're going to get, you know what I mean, like a 7, 8 out of 10 minimum pretty much every week. Maybe every now and then he'll drop a poor performance, but he is overall, I would say he's a consistent player. So I don't know where he's coming from, and to just come and say Doku. I mean, listen, he knows football more than me, right? He's an expert, but I don't know. He might just be waffling. I don't know what the reasoning behind this is, but I think that's an outrageous claim already. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is for that, to be honest with you.
I would love to get this. The problem with listen, I think Arsenal fans attacking Pires is crazy. He's a legend of your football club. I think some of the comments in about him are over the top. What I would have loved to have seen, and maybe there's a longer version, I've only seen a clip of it, is I'd love to have seen him challenged. So forget the Doku comparison, because I don't see how Doku is more consistent than him. Doku's a good player, but factually speaking, he hasn't been more consistent than Saka. I'd have loved to have asked him what he means by consistency, because in terms of goals and assists, creativity, Saka is quite a consistent player. I'd have loved to have just delved into what he meant more, as opposed to just... And you know what you said about earlier about Rio Ferdinand being a happy clapper? I find too many presenters that get access to these legends, access to these footballers, they just accept an answer and go, thank you, rather than delving a little bit deeper. What do you mean? Can you expand on that? Can you break it down more? Can you describe what you mean? He scores all these kind of goals. Where else would you like to see consistency? Maybe he means I want to see consistency from him in the running, because Saka in the run-ins in the last 2 years hasn't been as good as in the build-up to them. And maybe Gooners would go, oh, we agree with you. But sometimes I look at the journalist, and I'm not trying to blame the journalist per se, but it's like, I think there's like 3 or 4 more questions that need to come so that we can dig a bit deeper and understand it fully, because I don't understand the claim that Saka's inconsistent. And then using Doku as the barometer and the sort of the standard bearer is weird. But again, City fans are just Sam hating. I think Doku's really good, by the way. I just didn't get the Doku bit, and I don't understand where Saka
Doku's
is.
not better than Saka, but I'm actually happy that Pires said that, and I'll tell you why.
Go on.
I needed it to come from one of their legends. That, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, he's not. Saka is better than Doku. Let's not even joke about that one. But I'm just happy that it came from Pires, because I needed him to like just turn it down a notch a little bit, you know. Because I've heard Saka, and I think he's a good player, and I rate him a lot. But I just think that he's just like a little bit overrated in that fan base. And this is some insane comparisons that I've heard him in, you know. It doesn't mean that what Pires said is right, but it's quite humbling coming from one of their legends. You know what I'm saying? Like, it needed to be heard from one of their own. Because I'll tell you this, some Arsenal fans will listen to this, and I hope they don't believe it, but some of them might sit there and be like, well, there might be a reason he said that. What are we missing? Is there something that we don't see?
Look how they reacted when Ian Wright said that Southgate should play Saka at left back for one game. Look how they You think they're really going to have some...
Lawless, I said that on the terrace, and people called me a dumb yank, but then he said it, and everyone was sucking him off. I was like, did I have to be Ian Wright for you guys to hear me out? Like, it just always said... Unfortunately, some people, they only hear a message when it comes from a certain individual. Like, you have to be at some stature for people to take you a little bit more serious. You might have a very good take, but people won't agree with you unless you're like a name that they rate. Now, that's what I'm saying. Like, Pires, he's highly rated from the Arsenal fan base, so this one is going to hurt them. It's actually going to hurt them a lot, because a lot of rivals now are going to use it against them. You know, they're going to be like, your own legend said that Doku was better. You know, imagine Hamza on a match reaction, reminding everyone that Pires said that. It's going to be peak, you know. But listen, they just needed a little bit of humbling. I don't agree with Pires. I think Saka's clear of Doku, if I'm being honest with you. But it's quite refreshing to hear that coming from one of their legends.
Don here says he is in Saka has been overrated. Well done, Pires, for speaking up. Saka is better than Doku. However, once Doku sorts out his end product, he'll be a better player for sure. When do you think he'll sort that end product out, though, Don? Are you going to give us a timeline for this, or is it going to be ambiguous again? Because remember, this is also a player that's turning 23 this season. Doku isn't a kid, so we can't give him the kid vibe. So let us know. There's a few other comments that came through that says, Terry, he wasn't talking about his GA, about the eye test. Thank you very much, Jeremy Doku the Go. I swear this is Lang and Sweet. I think he's changed his username, which is fair. But look, and maybe he was, and maybe that's what a few people saying that's what he was alluding to. Some saying that he emphasizes that Saka lacks imagination. But again, this is interpretation or emphasize. This is what I mean by the journalist doing their job and asking for specificity.
Yeah, because the word consistency, does it really match up to imagination? And
because listen to what Ronaldo said yesterday. Ronaldo said he literally got to a certain age and went, why am I doing all these step overs where basically a simple pass into another player ends in the same result? And I get that some football fans love the flair and they love the style. But if you can get the goal scored 30 seconds quicker by just passing it earlier rather than trying to beat 3 men in dribbling, and dribbling past people is amazing. But again, when you're taught to play football, and maybe this is why a lot of these skillful sort of Twitter people and really good footballers that are YouTubers that never didn't make it. Maybe they tried too much flair and sometimes didn't just play the simple ball or the right pass. And if you played football at any decent level, your coach will tell you, passing the ball, a person passing the ball accurately, it moves faster than any player can run with it. So I think again, I'm not having a go at Pires at all. I would have loved the journalist to ask more questions, and we try and do it on the terrace as best we can. A lot of people like to not answer, but I like specificity. Explain exactly what you mean in simple terms so we understand it. And that's the one thing here. Everybody's saying emphasis, and he was relating to this, and he meant that, and he implied this. Well, that means it's not clear, is it? That literally means, I think you're defining something not being clear. But there we go. How do you see the game going? How do you see the game going on Sunday, Staffy, North London derby?
Well, I don't know who's going to be available, so it's a tough one to predict. I know Odegaard is out. I know Rice is out. I know is Calafiori out.
Yes.
Okay, so Calafiori is out. Marino obviously is out. So that midfield for them, that midfield is not looking good. I'm gonna be very honest with you. You know, Jorginho's gonna have to play, I believe, and they're gonna have what? They're gonna have Havertz and Partey. Listen, Partey doing that box to box shift that Rice does, it's not gonna look good. It's really not gonna look good. I just don't know who's available from Spurs because obviously Bentancur is about to get suspended, so I don't know if he'll play or not. And there's doubts about Bissouma, so I don't know who's available in Spurs' midfield. At least I know who's available in Arsenal's midfield, but I'll tell you what, it's not good enough. But I spoke to Hassam yesterday. He said it's gonna be a stinky 1-0 win to Arsenal. And I couldn't disagree more. This is going to be a high-scoring game. I think the way Ainge plays football, now jokes aside, the way Ainge plays football is very I don't want to say disrespectful, but he has no respect to his opponents, and he doesn't approach big games with any level of consideration to who he's going against, which is why he was one of the 2 teams last season that actually won the possession versus Arsenal. Arsenal lost possession only twice last season, one to City and one to Spurs. So he's going to approach the game the same way. I think when you approach games this way, you end up having high-scoring games in big games. If he was technically a little bit, more adaptable, I would assume a boring game. It does happen a lot in big games. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't think Spurs have been amazing, but neither has Arsenal. And Arsenal have gotten more points, don't get me wrong, because they probably have better players on the day that could get the job done. However, I don't think this is going to be one of them. I think Arsenal are going to be uncomfortable. I think they're going to concede a lot of possession, and I think they're going to miss Rice more than anyone else. When you concede possession, you want your most physical players in the midfield present, and he's not going to be there. And I think if Partey's forced to do that job, Partey is not Partey of 5 years ago. His legs are not as there, and he's very injury prone, so he's not as physical as he is. One of his main issues is off the ball because he's not that physical. So him missing Rice, I think, will be a big issue for them. Now, I think if Bissouma plays, Sarr plays, and Maddison plays, that's pretty much Spurs' best midfield. I think if that midfield plays, they will absolutely dominate the ball when it comes to Arsenal. And I don't think, as Arsenal fans think, they said, but our defense is this, and that. I get it. But let me tell you something. This Arsenal back line is not used to conceding a lot of possession. They're not used to conceding high volume chances. They are a good back line, don't get me wrong, but one of the reasons they're a good defense is because they don't allow their opponents to get a lot of chances. I think this is going to be one of those games the Spurs actually dominates the ball and creates a lot of chances. And I don't know how good is Gabriel and Saliba going to be when, on average, by the way, I don't know the number, so I'm going to say a hypothetical number. I don't know how they're going to go from, as an example, conceding 2 big chances a game to maybe conceding about 5 or 6. That's what I think is going to happen. And I think if Spurs manage to put them on the back foot, they will win this game. And I'm actually going to go for a Spurs win. I think Ainge is just going to approach the game the same way, and they're going to have a healthier team. And they're at home. If it was in the Emirates, I probably would speak with a different tone. But they're away. So I'm kind of going to back Spurs on this one to get the win.
I don't trust Spurs, to be honest. I don't trust them at all. As much as I think it's going to be a tough game for Arsenal, it's going to be an uphill battle. Spurs could have Van der Ven and Solanke back. There's a chance. Basuma's 50-50 from what I've seen. And yeah, I think a lot of what you said, I think you're spot on in your analysis in terms of Arsenal, conceding chances. And I think without Odegaard, I think they're going to struggle with creativity. However, it's the set pieces. Arsenal on set pieces, deadly.
That's true.
And that has been Tottenham's kryptonite. Now, I haven't seen enough to say whether they've addressed it or not. I know there was some talk in pre-season, some of the games that they looked a bit better, but that's pre-season. I need to see if Ange has really addressed this. Apparently, they still didn't get a set piece coach in to help them. So we'll see. I think that's going to be a where Arsenal will get their goals from. But I don't think Arsenal will have enough to win the game. I honestly think this has a draw written all over it. Arsenal win these Spurs in this North London derbies lately, and under Ange have been a big disappointment. So yeah, I think it will be a draw. I think Spurs will be winning, and then Arsenal will equalise with a corner. there, and they'll score both corners. So.
You know what the issue is, Lawless? When they hit him on the counter, I don't look at this Arsenal team as a decent counter-attacking team. I just feel like they're so like focused on playing their style of play that when they concede possession, I don't know how they look. Like I don't.
Well, Man City away though, they did do it last season though, Staffy. They did change up for that game and went more.
Yeah, that one long ball that they did to side. I remember that, but that's not. They could do it. Don't get me wrong. I don't see a lot from Arsenal to be like, yeah, they have this. The only thing that they might have is Martinelli on the counter, but Martinelli hasn't been that great anyways. Like when I'm looking at
Sterling on the counter.
There you go. That's actually a good point. I forgot that Sterling is there. So Sterling debut actually might do something. I don't know. I don't like Arsenal's odds, and this is not necessarily the glazing Spurs as people want to see. I don't see it.
The only one thing that I don't disagree with you on, I think it's a fair point, is considering how much stick Declan Rice gets. Suddenly he's missing for a game, and everyone's like, they're going to really notice how poor they are without Declan Rice. But yet, when Arsenal fans talk about how important Declan Rice is to them, so many people just talk about him like he's an also-run. Like he's just, he's Rice. He ain't that good.
You got to add context to that. So you got to add context to that. First of all, I think the main reason we're saying this is because they're playing a big team. So if you're playing a lesser opponent, I don't think a lot of people would have been panicking. So they're playing a bigger team. And as I said, I believe they're going to concede a lot of possession. If they were playing us, I'm not going to lie. If they're playing us, I wouldn't even say that because they wouldn't struggle without Rice against our midfield. It's just the way that Spurs play. I'd probably say that also about Liverpool. I'd say that obviously about City. I'd say that about a couple more opponents. I think Rice's stick is more of like him on the ball. But one of the things that I always gave him, and I did say people love to always ignore this. I always said I would take Rice at United just because of the partnership I think he would form with Maino in the midfield. Rice is a good bodyguard to certain midfielders. So when I say bodyguard is because he offers a lot on the physical part. Me not rating him on the ball doesn't mean that I don't rate him in a team. Like I'm aware that you don't need to have 11 players that are perfect on the ball. You might afford to have a couple players that give you better attributes outside of that. He does give this to this Arsenal midfield. But there's no Odegaard, and he's the number one guy, I guess, in that midfield. And then obviously Partey is there. But as I said, he needs Rice. So I guess that's what I'm saying. You got to add context to it. In this game, they will 100% miss Rice, in my opinion.
Listen, I'm still going to go with an Arsenal win. And this isn't Spurs can win it. But even with the injuries, I go through the teams up against each other. Arsenal still have the better players.
Is Solanke fit?
Should be according to the reports I've read, but still, when you go through it, there's a couple of Spurs players that you could put into a combined 11. But Arsenal have the better goalkeeper, the better defense, the better midfield, the better attack overall. I am not buying into these injury and suspension excuses. They are a team that finished 23 and 26 points respectively over the last two seasons. So there's been a 50-plus point gap between the two teams in the last 2 years. There is no excuse for Arsenal not to be winning this game, in my opinion. They are by far the better team. You're not talking about, and it's not to act like Spurs closed the gap lows this summer and bought amazingly, and we're like, wow, look at them. 1-1, drawn 1, lost 1, I think, in the opening 3 games. Or is it, have they lost any yet, Spurs? Or maybe I've got that wrong. I think maybe I'm talking about Chelsea.
They lost last game, yeah. They lost 2-1 to Newcastle.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, 1-1, lost 1, drawn 1. Arsenal are a better team than them, and I still think that Arsenal fans should expect and demand Arteta find a solution to the small problems they've got, win the game, then Rice returns. The other injuries, Calafiori and Moreno, I don't think are starting the game anyway, because they're not. Moreno's not at he would have had 2 weeks of training now, maybe played a bit for Spain, but he wouldn't be walking into the team. Their attack is pretty much as it should be. The biggest miss is Odegaard and the creativity that comes from him. I still think they've got to give this young kid Nwaneri a go, but we will see. We will see what happens. Viewers, I'd love to get your take. I'd love to get your view just on what someone said earlier on about Saka and Doku there in the end product. Just put end product into context. Saka scored 20 goals in all competitions last year. Remember, there's 1 year difference in age between the two of them. Doku in his entire career so far has 23 goals. Just want to put that into context in relation to sort of catching Bukayo Saka. Doku, I don't think, will Doku ever get to the level where he's banging in 20 goals a season? I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
He's going to have to play the games, though. He's going to have to play every week.
This is very true. This is very
Saka
true.
plays every game near enough for Arsenal in nearly every competition. So unless Doku gets there, it's as hard to compare really, unless he's
No, I
doing
get that. And Doku's, and by the way, Doku's really good. I like Doku. Listen, viewers, everyone who's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Oh yeah, prediction for the game. Sorry, yes, prediction for the game. Sorry, go for it.
2-2.
2-2. And what you going with, Staffy?
Listen, all I want to say is Solanke. Listen, if he plays tomorrow, hopefully he's fit. Sorry, not tomorrow, Sunday. The Solanke stocks, they prosper on Sunday, guys. Everyone who was invested early, congrats. You'll be able to cash out on Sunday, and you're gonna leave with some good money. So make sure you tune in for Sunday.
If people put him in their fantasy team because of you, and he don't do nothing, they're coming for you, Staffy.
He is in my fantasy team, but Terry will tell you I rated him before he even went to Spurs. We've had these talks before, but the stocks prosper on Sunday, and that what's his name, Young Dan. When Solanke scores that winner, I don't want to see you on the terrace match reaction glazing him, because you were sitting there saying we should have paid 60 million for Tony, while Tony right now is about to debut for Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. So don't glaze him then. But I'm actually gonna go for a 2-1 Spurs.
Terry, what you saying? Like, you're saying Arsenal win? How much?
He's gonna back his team. We all know that.
I'm doing my preview later on this weekend, so I'll be holding mine back until then.
I'm going to be watching, by the way, Terry, after the terrace afterwards, because I'm very interested if it is a draw, what the narrative is, because I think the narrative is going to be Arsenal this is a massive point with injuries at Spurs away. This is huge for them. Great point. They can build on this, blah, 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 despite the fact that they'll be losing ground to Man City. I'll be looking for that narrative. So,
and Arsenal have a difficult run after this one.
Yeah, they got Man City
in the next 3 games, something like that.
They got Man City and Liverpool coming up, I think.
This is technically the easiest of the 3, and it's not an easy game.
Yeah,
so they need to start picking up points.
Well, I mean, they could be
not drop points.
Yeah, they got Spurs, then they got Man City away. Obviously, Leicester at home. That one's a kind of a given. And Southampton. When's Liverpool coming? Because they had Liverpool coming up.
Isn't that Liverpool game?
Yeah, I thought they had Liverpool coming up. But yeah, so like I said, they don't want to lose too much ground to Man City, even though there's still plenty of football to play. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be an interesting one. Listen, viewers, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Boys, always a pleasure to sit and speak football with you. To everyone who's commented, everyone who's super chatted, everyone who's hit the like button, you're amazing. We're back with more content soon. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all. Peace.